Good morning or good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is your host of 3x3 Hustle Hype, Greg Hyde, current Australian 3x3 squad member, Asian Cup gold medalist and World Cup participant. And I'm very excited to introduce, well, not only one guest, but two guests, and that is the dynamic duo, the Plouffe sisters from Canada. Greetings, guys. How are we all going?
Doing great out here. Thanks for having us.
No, absolute pleasure. First off, we just spoke about it off air, but whereabouts are you guys? I imagine you guys are back in Canada. I mean, how are you dealing with the whole COVID-19 situation and all those dynamics?
Yeah, we're back in Canada. We're back home. So that's been good. We've been here for about 3-4 weeks. We came back from France after our seasons got canceled, but we're in the same boat as a lot of other athletes in the world. So just figuring it out.
Of course. You're staying in good nick? Good shape, as they say from Australia.
Oh, okay. I was like, we're not familiar with that term. Yeah, we're trying to. I mean, we were in France. We couldn't do much. We had to stay within a kilometer of your residence. Yeah. So it was tough. But now we're back in Canada, Edmonton, Alberta, and we're able to obviously be outside more. So it's just kind of the equipment we have. But we're doing our best. Sometimes it's hard to stay motivated, but we're doing good.
Now, obviously, take a stripper all the way back. Catherine, you're the number 4 ranked women's player in the world, and Michelle, you're the number 9 and 1 and 3, respectively, in Canada women's basketball. Let's take it all the way back to, I guess both your basketball journeys. Not any of us 3x3 players started playing 3x3. So how did it all start in terms of 5-on-5? Where do you attend college? And how did you get into it?
Well,
a big one.
To take it all the way back, we started playing when we were very young, but our first team was 9 years old, in a community team. Everyone made the team, that kind of thing. But we started playing because our older sisters were playing sports, and we played other sports as well, but we've always been in the gym, either watching or doing other things when we're supposed to be watching, but always around basketball. And then,
and then we just started to love it. We played it, then we got good at it, and that just gets the ball rolling. We both went to university in the United States on scholarships, but we went to different schools. So I went to the University of Utah in Salt Lake City for 4 years, and Catherine went to
Marquette University in Wisconsin. So opposite sides of the country.
Yeah, we were like, bye, see you later.
It was real nice.
It was good. Yeah, and then that's when we kind of figured out playing pro was an actual option, because we didn't know any pro players growing up, like female basketball players, just because not a lot came out of our city, and it was just starting to be a big thing where players went down to the States to play basketball, to go to university. So from there I got drafted to the Seattle Storm after my senior year, and then we both went to Europe to play pro. So
and I mean, where's your professional career taken you? I mean, obviously you're just in France. Where else have you been?
My first year I was actually in Romania. So that was a challenge in itself because it was a super new country for me. One of my teammates in college was Romanian, and when she heard I was going there, she laughed. But it was a good experience. It's not the top league, but there was actually a lot of American players in that league. So to go from US college to that league, it was an easier transition because I was kind of used to how they played. But then after that, I went to France, and Michelle's been in France for her whole career. So
I just keep moving around cities doing it.
So about same teams or different?
Different teams. I've played on 4 different teams in the last 5 years. And the club I'm in now, we're a EuroLeague team, and we're also like one of the top French teams. And I'm going back next September, hopefully, when the season starts. So it will be my third season with this team.
Have you played any of the like 3x3 French national team players, or I mean?
Yeah. I'm actually 2 of them are on my team in France.
You're joking.
Yeah. This past
who was just on your show, I think, right?
Yeah. True. Yeah.
So I played with her and Marie-Ève Paget.
Yep.
So they were both on my team this year, and there's actually a bunch of women's 3x3 players in the French league. So we've played with a handful of them. Also, maybe Mbuyamba. She's also has played 3x3.
Yeah, so all those girls, we see them all the time.
Yeah, just letting them know that you guys dominated.
Occasionally.
Yeah, pretty much, bro. So yeah, let's transition into 3x3 world. I mean, obviously, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys were sort of rookies last year in that regard, and strip it all back, yeah, you guys represented Canada in traditional 5-on-5 and in that regard. But I guess you took the Women's World Tour by storm. It was the first time they've ever done it, winning the last 4 tournaments. I mean, pretty sure, scoring 14 points, in a final was an incredible feat. So well done in that regard. But I mean, how did you even get into the sport of 3x3?
Well, we more recently, one of our friends, Steve Sir, he plays on the men's side, and we had worked out with him when we came home from our pro seasons a few, like 5 or 6 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, and he's been, he made it kind of known in our city and in Canada, really. But even before that, they would have 3x3 tournaments in the summers. And we would always play in them. Like we were like 10, 11, 12 years old.
This was a while ago.
Yeah.
But like we liked it. It's so fun. It's like street ball.
No blood, no foul.
No blood, no foul. So
sometimes there's blood and there's still no foul.
But more recently we got back into it because he was playing, and so we just watched him on the tour, and we were like, that looks super fun.
Yeah. We're also transitioning out of 5-on-5, and so
on the national team,
with the 5-on-5 national team, and so we just jumped into it, going from one to the other. There was really no break, not that we needed one immediately, but it was something that we could get right into and seize that opportunity. So
plus we knew like the French girls, because we had played against them already before, so we were kind of like, oh, you're doing very well, and I think
we could do better.
I think we could do well also.
For sure. So, I mean, let's talk about that World Series. I mean, I think your first tournament you finished 4th, and then, and we'll touch on that in a little bit. I guess that motivation of qualifying for the Olympics, but that first tournament and then seeing that transition. Obviously, how are your experiences with the World Series? Is the first time FIBA's ever done it. To how did your squad develop? I mean, you guys obviously were involved, but I mean, how did that go from the start of the tour to the end?
Oh man,
it was a whirlwind.
Even starting the team, we essentially started the team because Canada didn't have a project to make a national team, and so we wanted to do it, and we knew it was going to be kind of mostly our responsibility to get into the World Series if we wanted to play in it. So we found players we never played with or knew, asked them if they wanted to be on our squad, and they said yes.
We were like, oh, great. We have 48 hours to turn in our roster.
So we learned a lot. But we met one of our teammates at the first tournament we played in Turin, Italy. And even our first game was a shocker, because we hadn't been training with a team obviously until the tournament, because it was put together so late for us. We were just jumping into it, and so that first taste was like, oh, we have some things to learn.
Yes. But even by the third, not the third game, but even by the end of just that tournament, it's like 3x3 is really getting a feel for, the rhythm and the style, and
Thankfully the game in Canada is very motion-like, so it's just like reading your teammates, reading the ball, and making plays. So that I think helped us. And just we had, smart players who could do that already. So it wasn't like we had to learn a lot of new set plays or anything. It was just getting a feel for each other.
Yeah.
So time obviously helped us out there, but breaking my hand in the first tournament did not help.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Shooting hand or non-shooting hand?
No, my non-shooting hand, but
okay. Yeah.
It was there, but
still recovering.
No, she played this season.
No, I played in the tournament 6 weeks later because I was really trying to qualify for the Olympics.
Yeah, of
course. So it was in the semi. It was in the quarterfinal.
There's no quarters.
But
the semifinal.
Yeah. It was in the semifinal. Anyways, I broke it. I didn't know it was broken. Finished that game, then played the next game.
And then we went
to the emergency room interim. So
good times.
So then we had to introduce new players into the team, and like every tournament was
a new team.
Yeah, but also everyone took the responsibility to improve their own game because we were going back home to different parts of Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So we never actually got a chance to really practice as a team. But everyone was so on board. Like our teammates are just amazing.
Yeah.
And these women are like so all in, which is what we were looking for because we were all in. So we really grew as a team. And when we got back together in Prague, we just like dominated.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Like you talk about that very first tournament. I don't think until you play the game, you can actually truly understand how different it is from 5-on-5. Like there's obviously the skill aspect. You got to put a ball in a hoop and you got to be able to guard someone. But I think, until you actually get immersed in it, even when I played 5-on-5, I played a professional career for 10 years and watched on like on TV, some other guys, and I was like, what? It's not that hard. And then until the physical component, and as you're right, like the injury sort of side, you can't sub out and sub someone else in the start of a tournament. And we played with someone that played with a torn groin. What have you found as the biggest difference? Obviously, you've touched on it, the physicality. You can go from one tournament to getting fouls and not, getting cold. But, I mean, what have you guys found? And then how have you, believe your strengths in 5-on-5 translated to the 3x3 game?
I think the most challenging part for me when we started was like taking your shots, because I'm like a calculated person in what shots to take. And so in 3x3, it just moves so fast. You got to take the open shot. You can't wait around for the perfect shot. And so just like understanding that you're going to miss a lot of shots, but you're also going to take a lot of shots. So that was kind of like, it took time for me to adjust to that, but also it's so much fun because you get the ball in your hands all the time.
Yeah. I mean, it was just the pace. The pace is different. Like there's no stopping. Mm-hmm. And when you stop, it's like for 4 seconds and then you just keep going for 10 minutes. And it was like physically like so much harder for me than a 5-on-5 90-minute like game. It was so hard. Like conditioning wise, I was like, I've never, after that first term, I felt like I'd been run over by a semi-truck. Like everything hurt. I was like, this is difficult.
Oh.
But I mean,
I couldn't agree with you more. And when they say, how do you prepare for it? Like I've been asked at a junior level and I'm like, I don't know if you actually physically can. It's like, well, let me run through something for 45 minutes. Like it is. I remember that our training camp was after we just won a championship. And the very first drill was like, it's when you talk about street ball, it's like your very first drills. Throw the ball up and see who can grab it and put it back in. Like, and you do that for however long you can. You're right. It is such a brutal, but I think that's why we loved it though as well. It's different. everyone, I love that. Like, you know, for 5-on-5, if you're a role player, you stand in the corner waiting for your shot. Like, you can't hide in this game. You've got to guard every single person. It is awesome. Now, where was your favourite spot of all those World Series tours? Obviously, you won four championships, but yeah, talk to me about that.
Oh, well, being in Canada was great. Yeah, we did in our hometown. We hosted the last stop, which was awesome. Really cool because our family and friends, and it was in the mall, and that was a really cool atmosphere. Mm-hmm. Other than that, I really like Prague. Yeah. Just like so many people stopped to watch, and like the stands were just always filled. And I mean, I don't think they expected that because they didn't set up as many stands. What was it, the Friday? We played Friday, Saturday, and the men's was Saturday, Sunday. And like they weren't expecting fans to stop because it was just the females playing on one day. Yeah. And it was like packed like all the time because it's right in the middle of like the street. It's like beautiful. It was hot in the summer, but it was really cool. Yeah. I would agree with that.
It is a dynamic. Sorry, what was that?
Oh, I was just agreeing with that. Yeah, Prague was pretty
it's funny, you think, you know, like I've seen my first watching of 3x3 was in a stadium in Philippines, like the World Cup. But then the very first time I'm playing in is in a street ball tournament in Puerto Rico, like, you know, like on the street. And you get that, like that's the highest view, like visitor rate. Like the tournaments I played in Manila or China is just in a shopping center.
Yeah.
It's a bit weird to get there and you're like, oh, I'm walking into a stadium. And then you're like, play a game, get done in 10 minutes. Now, I want to touch on, obviously, and that was the motivation. You touched on it. And the World Series tour was to try and qualify for the Olympics. And similar to us, the Australian men's team, quite. And I was reading an article, and it's funny how I'd be saying I was naive and maybe thinking, yep, best teams, you win Asia Cup, you're qualifying, and that obviously was your motivation. Talk to me about that in terms of winning four, similar to us, not qualifying. And so there's a lot of disappointment. And I guess I want to touch on where to now, I guess, for you girls, because, I mean, it'd be a shame, you know, like I feel like you guys are going to be the future of 3x3 basketball, the way you guys have dominated. But talk to me about, I guess, that initial disappointment, but then, I mean, where to now for Canada basketball and 3x3?
Yeah, we had the exact, I don't know if you were quoting you or me, but it sounded exactly the same. Like when
I was reading, I was like, did I write that? Or...
No, but really, we said we knew it was going to be close. We obviously didn't know maybe all the rules.
How it all works,
Yeah. But I was just so, like, I couldn't logically think that, like, if you are one of the best teams, they just wouldn't let you in. But yeah, that was our motivation, and it was obviously super disappointed. We were like shocked.
Shocking.
I'm sure you guys went through the same thing, but we went to a Women's World Series meeting. They held one.
Yes.
I see now that they've changed the ways that they count ranking points with the top 50 players. So things are changing, which is good going forward. I don't think we know what the future exactly holds, because it was just so different the way we did it last summer, because we technically were under Canada Basketball, but we did it all ourselves. We self-funded ourselves.
Yeah.
So now that it's in the spotlight, so to speak, like there's more light shed on the sport, which is what one of our goals was as well, was just to bring the sport more attention, especially for females. Now that Canada Basketball is more involved, they have hired someone to be the director. It's not really in our hands at this point. We kind of have to wait and see what plan they have. I would like to continue playing 3x3 because it's super fun. I think it improved my 5-on-5 game just because you get to do so many things. What do you think?
Yeah, we'll see. I did go to a meeting with about the World Series after the series, and I walked away with some understanding on why they had certain rules, but even they knew that some things were not gonna stick. And unfortunately, we were caught in a year where nothing made sense. But I understand more. I still don't agree with all the rules, but they obviously are trying to do the best they can to get it, or they were doing the best they can to get it into the Olympics in the first place. Whatever way they had to do that. So, I mean, I'm glad it's in the Olympics, and it's going to be hard to take it out of the Olympics now. So, yep, we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes.
No, it's for sure. It's an interesting thing, and there's no doubt. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you put Australia, Canada in it, and there's unfortunately maybe some nations that may have been preparing for 4 years for that opportunity. Realistically wouldn't be able to compete just because of size and all that sort of stuff, but they're not afforded that opportunity that they may have been working for 4 years. But it is a tough thing, and you talk about motivation because, like, it's incredible you guys self-funded that for the chance to represent your country at the Olympics, the highest honour. So I commend you guys for that, and obviously condolences just because I'm the exact same in that regard. You want to be able to do that. Yeah. But tip my hat off to you. Where, I mean, do you see that? Do you want to be in that pathway? Juniors coming up. I mean, obviously, there's after the Olympics, there's who knows what happens this year with COVID-19 and the world tour and all that sort of stuff. You obviously said you want to be, but do you want to be involved in the sort of the junior pathway and see that game grow? I mean, I obviously think the world tour is a really good step in terms of growing the game in women's sports, which I think is utmost importance. I mean, how are you guys trying to grow that game back in Canada?
We were just as in before COVID-19, but we usually have we host a Plouffe Hoops camp, like our annual basketball camp for high school age girls and youth girls and boys. And we were talking earlier this year about just like integrating 3x3, or maybe doing a camp and a 3x3 tournament on the side, or just going to Calgary, which is a city not far away, and doing the same thing there. Just because it's so fun and it's so helpful for young players to develop their skills, and also just to have fun with it, because especially young kids, when they start playing 5-on-5 basketball, it's obviously going to be, the best kids that touch the ball the most, or, there's just not that equilibrium among all 5 players. It's just never going to happen. So that's why we love it for kids. Like our nephew, he's 7 years old, and he played he just went to his first basketball team this past year, and like once they got past, because they worked up to like 4-on-4. 4 is too many for that age. Like 3 is the maximum you should have. So we just want to integrate it, just starting there. And if Canada, if they need ambassadors to promote the game, like I would be happy to do that, because I just think it's a great opportunity.
No, that's awesome. And I agree with you, junior levels. I've been saying it so much. I actually think it's a legitimate pathway for juniors, like to learn the game. Like I remember when I was 5, 6 years old playing, like I couldn't even let alone run and dribble a basketball. And then as you got better, if you were skillful, you could completely dominate if you're 11 years old, because like other people couldn't. But 3-on-3, the size of the court, you don't have to play there's no way you're replicating a 3x3 tournament and a 10-year-old kid and calling no fouls. But the reason why you play the game. I want to ask you one more thing before we wrap it up. how enjoyable has it been playing alongside each other? Yeah, I'm not sure if you've done it on the professional circuit, but to play alongside each other as sisters. And I guess, yeah, put women's basketball on the map in terms of Canada and all that regard. I mean, I remember looking on the outside, and every time there was a, social media, post, it was Plouffe sisters winning another tournament and, all that sort of stuff. How's it been to share it alongside each other, I guess?
Yeah, super special. We played together during the summer with the 5-on-5 national team, but we didn't get to play on the court at the same time for a lot of times. So most times. So
yeah, we never did that actually.
We did. But it's been super fun. We haven't played together in years like this, so I'd say the connection is still present.
Definitely still
from the first game. But
yeah.
It's been fun because she's a great teammate, so I love playing with her, and also but if we were to play on this, we said that we might want to play on the same 5-on-5 team one day. This was before 3x3, but this is a funner pass, so maybe we'll just keep this.
Yeah, maybe yeah, it's honestly just it's so fun. And like, even when I was injured, and I was at home but I watched all the games, obviously. And like, I was just watching her dominate, like when she scored 17 points against the Netherlands. And I was like, she is so good. Like, we're just big fans of each other. And it's just super special. That's why I think also we were so excited to possibly qualify and go to the Olympics, because it would have felt completely different than with the 5-on-5 team, just because it was like our baby. Like, we formed it and we were going to like bring the team somewhere it's never been before, because it hadn't been done. But it was a super special summer.
No, that's awesome. Sibling rivalry? Are you obviously holding each other's accountable? I mean, I'm sure if you're like, hey, give me the ball, that's enough.
No, if she's hot, just I'll be like, okay, I'll just I guess.
Yeah. Nah, that's awesome. Well, Catherine, Michelle, thank you so much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure. And to learn a little bit more about yourselves, about your journey. But on behalf of the team here at 3x3Hustle and Australia team, where I've thoroughly enjoyed you guys doing so well. Good luck, I guess, whatever the future holds in that regard. But I think it's a no-brainer that Canada basketball will have you involved in any way. But obviously, I think your careers are quite young too. So it's not the next Olympics, who knows, but the following. But congratulations on everything you've done, and thank you for joining me.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
It was a pleasure. And thanks, guys, to everyone for tuning in. You can tune in via Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and as well as all your your podcast outlets, Spotify, YouTube, or iTunes. But thank you again, guys, and stay safe out there.